Bandwidth and hosting for Bagel Tech Mac is provided by UK2.net. Web hosting for everyone. Hello, welcome to Bagel Tech Mac Take 2, the podcast from the Bagel Tech Network, which deals with Macintosh and all the things that have happened. And of course, thank God, something has actually happened with Apple, and we may actually discuss it for longer than they presented it. I wasn't there, I couldn't see it, I was in a room working, and when I turned my bloody computer on, it had all finished anyway, and I had a crap internet connection on my Wi-Fi. 3 networks, sort your Wi-Fi out, mate, because it was bloody awful yesterday. Joining me for a good old whinge about Apple is a great panel this week. Top left, our regular man who knows everything, who you never cross with, and is Captain Sensible according to the chat room, Don McAllister.
Hello, I don't know if I'm going to have a whinge about Apple, but we'll certainly have a good old chat about Apple. Hello, Ewan, how are you doing?
I'm all right, mate, apart from my MacBook not starting this week, thanks to the Kingston SSD, which was my pick of the week, and I bloody hate it now. I sound like Greenie.
Oh, dear. Mind you, I have had a few SSDs go on me in my time, so it's... more recent one seems... Was it an oldish one or a recent one?
It was 6 months old. It was the Kingston V100 SSD, recommended to me by Ian Grant. Turn it off and back on again. He said it was brilliant, and I bought it based on that alone. And it ran for 3 months and crapped out, and I thought, that might be the OS corruption. So I did it again, and it's crapped out this morning after 6 months.
I mean, I had the same with a Crucial SSD, so it might necessarily be the actual manufacturer. It's probably just down to the fact that some of the earlier SSDs are a little bit iffy.
I only bought it in August.
It's fine.
But I've got to say, the high point, Amazon Customer Services. Sent a thing, they said, click the call me back thing. The phone, as soon as I clicked it, started ringing. Hello, yes, we'll give you a new one, not a problem. Wow. And then they sent me an email through that said, we'll send it out Monday. I'm like, hang on, this is my work laptop. I've only got Sunday to rebuild this thing. It's got to be next day. And they went, oh, yeah, of course it has. No worries. And they upgraded it to express delivery on a Saturday. 0 charges. So... big 'em up. Spot on, Amazon. Thank you very much. Superb customer service. I will try you first before I go anywhere else. How's the week been then, Don?
Busy. Macworld next week, so all hands to the pump, trying to get ready to sort the shows out and get everything in place. I'm actually off on holiday for a week after as well, so I've got like 2 weeks worth of shows that I've got to prepare in advance. But nearly there. I should have it cracked by Monday, so it should be okay.
Oh, mate. Are you going to join us from the show floor next Friday, or are you out?
I'm not too sure. It depends what time... what the time difference is, and if I'm up and about. I'll try to.
What time is it there, Andy?
It is 10:30, 10:46.
There you go.
Oh, that's all right.
7:46, mate. You'll be in the hotel room.
It's later now, isn't it?
Mrs. C will be down getting breakfast.
All right. Yeah, I'll see what I can do.
The butler will be cleaning your shoes.
Get on with it.
Right, next to him, fantastic, Mr. Andy Ihnatko. Hello, mate. How you doing?
We don't have butlers in America. That's why we rebelled in the first place.
Good man. What do you have instead then? Servants?
Mostly filth, poor food, that sort of stuff.
Redneck folks from trailer parks.
Wait a minute.
I'm sorry. You do have servants. Well, I'm sorry that I believe in freedom, and I would rather live in filth and squalor than actually pay somebody to look after my filth and squalor.
Freedom isn't free.
Andy,
$1.05.
Filth and squalor and Atco.
And damn proud of it. I am part of the huddled masses who yearn to breathe free. It's a statue to me. That's how much America appreciates people like me.
Good man. I am probably of the belief that you are sick to death of talking about Apple's event from yesterday already.
I was glad to get a night off. Seriously, because here in the East Coast, the event was at 10 a.m. Normally, I wake up at around 8:30 or so. And so I get like 45 minutes to an hour of like doing email before like I get out of bed. This time it was I got my email done. I got caught up with people who like on the other side of the ocean. And so wait, it's 9:30. I'll just like sit here and sit up and just watch the live stream. And then I had to start working like halfway through the thing before the thing was over. I had to download the thing before the thing was over. I literally was like sitting up in bed working until 2:30, and then that was just because I had to go downstairs and record a podcast and start talking about it, then write a column about it. And it wasn't until 6:30 that I realized that this is good. I am now free to not think about Apple iBooks Author anymore.
Were you still in your PJs?
I was still in my flannel PJs and my Mac Hack, I think, 12 t-shirt, yes.
Excellent. We'll do Bagel Deck PJs one day, definitely.
Exactly.
Be like him, Chris Foresman from Chicago, the snowy city. How you doing, pal?
Breezing my arse off.
That's good use of the English term, mate. Well done. How's your write-up of the Apple thing coming on?
Well, I got a lot of feedback yesterday from some education experts. So that's been published. I'm working now on talking about some of the licensing issues with iBooks Author and some things like that. So I got some feedback this morning. I'm trying to put together.
Cool. Next to him, Gazmaz. How you doing, mate?
Good afternoon. I'm doing very well, thank you. No refereeing this weekend, as I mentioned in the pre-show.
Yeah.
But I've been busy this week because it's the daughter's 18th, so I've been using a pick, which I will mention later, to create a nice little surprise for her later.
I forgot I needed to do a pick. I've been rushing around this morning. I haven't got one. I'll think of something.
I just guessed that I thought I'd have to, so, you know.
Jolly good. And last but by no means least, after a week's absence, Dr. Happy Mac back in the closet under the stairs by the looks, mate.
Back in the closet?
Yeah?
Back out of the closet again.
Harry Potter.
He's in, he's out, he's in, he's out.
You do actually put a Z on your forehead, mate. You could be Harry Potter in 30 years' time.
Oh, these are new. This is this week's new present from the aging fairy.
Yeah, I went blind over Christmas as well. I've got mine. I've started. The thing is as well that I managed to get some on a chain round my neck for when I'm working because it's just they're on and they're off. If you want to make a fortune, what you need to do is create something that means you can get your glasses on and off just as easily as if you've got them on an old folks chain round your neck, but you look cool. You will clean up, mate.
Only Steve Martin would made a movie about
exactly, the jerk, right? The optogram.
The optogram, yeah. And that's where you go blind, isn't it, in the centre? Oh, damn. Never mind.
The clients have decided to leave me alone this afternoon, so I is here.
Boom, chicka, wow, wow. Leave you alone that way, no?
Yes. I've had a whole week without any kind of inappropriate...
Fondling.
Yeah.
Dr. Fondlemac. We'll get your lower third change before the show's out, mate. Don't worry. The week in Apple. It's been a good year for them generally financially, but it's been a fantastic week because they've hit an all-time high of $428 a share, which, based on the fact that I think it was 18 months ago, it was at $325 a share, so that would have been a good investment. There's a new store opening in Harrods, which I just don't get, other than Harrods probably want them and have probably paid them a massive subsidy to have the space, because I don't think Apple would really want to be in there, to be honest. And they had an actual press event yesterday. Something was said. There was no TV, there was no iPad 3, unfortunately, but there was a lot of textbooks. Was that really worth a keynote? Or was it just a press conference that was a bit bigger?
Yeah, I think it's just a press conference. I mean, it was a pretty small room. I think there's fewer than, I think there were like 4 dozen members of the press in attendance. Usually when they do one of these big song and dance events, it's at least 100, 200 people. So
So it was proportional. That's good. What about the announcement then? Start with the textbooks. Textbooks going online, going to be interactive for your iOS device, $15 a piece. Good, bad, indifferent? Chris, you were talking to educators, you say? What's their take on it?
Well, the part of the thing to understand here is that this moving to digital textbooks has actually been happening for something like almost 15 years. But the industry has been very slow to adopt it. Prices for digital textbooks basically cost as much as the paper ones. So I think there's two really big, important things about what Apple has announced. One is iBooks Author, which is, as I would have called it, a garage band for ebooks. But the idea behind it is to make it accessible to make an interactive ebook for literally anyone. So, you know, the high school math teacher could literally write his own book and give it to his students if he wanted to.
But I'm thinking about the standard textbooks first of all that are going on.
And I was going to say the other side of this too is that Apple has gotten the largest textbooks publishers on board with making. Now they've said that high school textbooks will be $15 or less. So $15 is going to be the maximum price for for these digital texts, and that's a big deal. Several of the teachers that I spoke to were telling me that effectively getting a one-to-one iPad program for their students so that every student can have an iPad, and then filling them with these $15 books for all their classes is cheaper than buying new textbooks for everyone. There's kind of a balance here in that textbooks normally would be used for a couple years, but part of the problem is that sometimes the information is out of date or there's errors and they have to be corrected. The benefit here of these digital texts that Apple's pushing is that once you buy it, you get all the errata and updates and everything for as long as the publisher keeps updating it. So the textbook is always up to date. When the new class comes in next year and they're buying these digital texts, they're always getting the most up-to-date current information.
There's a bit of me that's thinking here, though, that these publishers have been dragged kicking and screaming into this deal, because there's no way on God's green earth can I see that this is something that they really want. I did a postgrad in law 3 years ago, and I bought 500 quid's worth of textbooks, and that 500 quid's worth of textbooks would probably have cost me about 90 quid now.
Well, and what I've heard from several people, even I think the CEO of Pearson maybe made similar comments. But when you look at the fact that like a college text, for instance, gets sold on average 6 times.
Right. So the relay sale, yeah.
Right. So what happened is the textbook publisher kind of they're sort of setting the prices on the basis that this book's going to get used 5 or 6 times. And even K through 12 books, they get used a couple years, whatever. So several students are using that book. Part of the pricing that they're doing is assuming, okay, a school is going to buy this book once for 5 or 6 different students.
Yeah. So
when you divide up $100 6 times, you're talking about $15 anyway. So if every student is paying $15, the textbook companies stand to generate about the same revenue.
So who's got ownership of the iPads? Because if the iPad carries on with the school, would a student coming in next year get that iPad, or does the iPad go with the student through his school life and then he owns it?
It depends on the way the programs are set up. Some programs do it where each student is given, their tuition or taxes or whatever covers buying the device, and they're given the device. Some schools are doing it where they, typically for younger students, so like K through 4, K through 5, the students are being handed iPads that are used for the classroom, and so those iPads, at least from what I've heard from other teachers, is that they're setting up the iPad with the apps and the textbooks and whatever that their first grade students are going to need, and they get to use it, and then it gets reset, and all the personal data flushed out and then reset, and then it goes back next year for the next first grade class.
Okay, so where's the follow-up business for the publishers for the next book, or does that cost then get soaked into the updates that might come down?
The updates for the textbook publishers.
Yeah, I mean the publishers were producing a book which obviously they would be bought annually. That they would have sales each year, whereas with this they're selling it once and then doing updates. So presumably they would have new versions of textbooks coming out periodically. So the system is just the same as it was before, but obviously electronically. Is that? Am I correct?
I think you've got to look as well. I mean, Chris was saying there about 5 or 6 times for the hand of books. My knowledge of textbooks from what I've done at university, you're probably talking about the actuality and factuality of a book being expired probably at around 2 editions. So we were told, buy a textbook, watch out for people going around with the one with the toaster on it. You need the one with the fire on it.
Right.
That kind of stuff. And they were all 2 editions back. That was the maximum they suggested that you went.
Definitely I think in high school and college, you're definitely going to see individual students with their own hardware buying their own copies of the books every time.
Based on the price, I can't see that not happening now. Don, you got a point there.
Primary school may be different. And I'm sure there's going to be some, looking at how the market shakes out there.
Yeah, I got the impression that the idea behind the electronic textbooks is that it was personal ownership. So you bought the textbook, it was yours. Because don't forget, it's not like a normal book where you just consume the content. You've also got the interactivity and the annotation side of it as well. And I sort of got from the keynote that a big push that they wanted to do is to have those annotations with the people for as long as they've got the book, basically, and they could refer back to the textbook in 5 years' time and see all the annotations that they did then. So I saw it very much as a personal ownership sort of thing. And I think they're just laying the foundation. I'm sure that there's lots of things will change over the next 12 or 18 months when, or the authorities who are involved in buying textbooks try and work out what's the best way to do it and speak to Apple and still sort of, flesh out the framework of how it's all going to work. But I think yesterday's event really was just to lay that foundation of what they could do. And these are the initial offerings, but they will change over time. I'm sure we'll see it mature over the next 2 or 3 years. Yeah,
and we should think beyond even textbooks. The more I played with it, the more I realized that every time that they were showing off these new textbooks, these sample textbooks, they're touting about, look at how we can reinvent textbooks, where it's no longer just boring a column of text with a few photos on it. It's interactive photos and interactive quizzes and video and audio. And immediately I started thinking, well, what else defines that in publishing? Well, magazines. So I'm really pretty sure that once we see 1.5 or 2.0, it's not just going to feed the textbook store. It's also going to feed the newsstand. I mean, Sports Illustrated, The New Yorker, all these magazines, their biggest complaint is how much money it costs for them to do a real interactive iPad version of their magazine and to encourage them to do something beyond what they could do for the Amazon Kindle. And this is definitely it. If they can just train up a guy in just 3 or 4 days to produce something that is a good facsimile of what would be a really complicated iPad app, that's going to be a big feeder for that store.
Is that the problem as well, though, that now what you've done is taken the hold on the media for the TVs and that kind of stuff was lost a little bit with podcasting through audio and video for radio and TV. But now what you've done is taken publishing and you've given publishing into the hands of magazine publishers. But the guy in his bedroom is going to come and probably there's going to be quite a few leapfrog forwards with very big magazines that are cult based, but are going to have higher advertising revenues from them in the end and start to detract from the advertising mainstream market in magazines.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's a great opportunity for individuals. Certainly, because there's always a great the definition of modern publishing is that now you don't have to sell 200,000 copies of a magazine to be profitable. You can just find the right 5,000 people and make a good living if your operation is lean enough. But it's still going to be you don't have photographers like the kind they have at National Geographic or Sports Illustrated. You don't have the prestige of a magazine like the New Yorker, so you're not going to get that kind of content on a regular basis. So there's always going to be a big market for those kinds of publications. What really concerns me, but it does point out another sort of quirk. I mean, the more we look at iBooks Author, the more we look at the kind of weird shortcomings of the app. And the first couple that I really thought of was, well, wait a minute, there's really no way to produce an iBook collaboratively with this app. It's if you instead of having 12 or 14 or 25 people contributing to it, you really have to have this one person who's at this one desk who's working on this one document, who's responsible for conforming all of these sources into one big publication, which just seems odd for a 500-page textbook with all this content coming into it. And there's also no support for automation. And the best thing, the biggest, the most impressive and dangerous AppleScript ninjas out there are the people who work in publishing, where they'll show you this magazine, this alumni magazine, or this newsletter, or even this whole like regular newsstand magazine that looks like the most complicated thing. It would take them a week to put it together from all their original sources. And they say, nope, all the contributors know to put things in the right folders on the server. I run this one script and I have at least a good rough layout of the entire magazine, including the cover. I just have to tweak it page by page and I'm done. So it's kind of odd that you can't collaborate on an iBook and you also can't automate any of it because that's so different from at least my understanding of how these publications are normally put together.
I mean, the one thing that really...
Apple are all about the individual, aren't they?
Mm.
Yes. Congratulations, individual. We fired 20 people and now you have to do all of their work. Hail, individual!
I'll tell you the thing that bothered me about the app is that the first time I launched it, I have a friend who has a collection of short stories and poems, and I've been helping her build a standard EPUB version that we can upload to iBooks. And so I've been just basically coding it all by hand, because the tools that are out there that convert, even there's like filters and things. You can take a Word file and it'll supposedly spit out an EPUB file. They're not very good. They generate horrible code. So I was thinking, oh, well, this is great. This is perfect. I can take this Word file, import it, and then, just arrange the sections. And I should have something pretty, with a little tweaking, I should be good to go. But the problem is there's only 6 templates, and they're all for textboots.
Yeah,
they are for textbooks. You
can customize those pretty easily. They're just a starting point, and you can save your own templates.
Yeah.
But also, it's pretty clear that this is a tool designed and optimized for textbooks or any long, really complicated document. My own sample project for yesterday was I just took a simple 6-page bit of fun that I wrote, and it was on my hard drive, thinking that, just like you, I play around with EPUB conversions just to learn how this stuff works. I thought, okay, great, I'll just drop the pages file into a template, I'll do a little bit of tweaking, and boom, I'll have at least a lame ebook, but it'll be a working ebook. And then it just didn't want to deal with 6 pages. It wanted 600 pages with 40 chapters, and each chapter having 80 subsections. And after an hour playing with it, it became really clear that if I had a book like that, it would be so easy to do. This would be the perfect tool for this. But the first time I built the table of contents and realized that it has put I had to chop it up into 6 chapters of 1 page each, and the table of contents is it's not chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 6 screens of pages, because the app is expecting that there's going to be 40 subsections to each chapter. So I think a lot of people were expecting GarageBand for books. I don't think Apple ever intended for at least version 1.0 of this app to be that. Hopefully we can look forward to that in the future, because just like you, I am really hoping for that tool that lets me build an ebook where I can just concentrate on what I want the reader to experience when they're reading my text. I don't want to have to learn all the CSS and all this HTML. And dang it, every time I break open an EPUB that has a really cool effect or a cool piece of navigation I really like, I realize that, dang it, I'm going to have to start learning JavaScript again. There's I hate learning.
Is this the real start to the digital books revolution that we've all been waiting for?
I think it's the beginning. This is like the preface. I mean, this is this is the pivotal moment, I think. Will it happen tomorrow? No. Will it happen in a couple of years? I think so, yes.
Where were you when publishing was shot?
Well, we realized that the most successful EPUB standard out there right now is still the Kindle store. And you can't get more basic. It's just text on a monochrome screen. So I think as much as Apple talks about wanting to revolutionize education, as much as the analysts want to talk about how this is a great opportunity for Apple to sell more iPads, we're still in the place where this is a place where Apple can actually finally make the iBook store unique and valuable, have its own bit of turf, because there's no bigger fan of the iPad, no bigger fan of iPad than I, and still I don't bother buying anything for the iBook store. Why wouldn't I buy a Kindle book, given that on a Kindle if I buy a Kindle version, I can run it on pretty much any device that I have.
I mean, one of the things that struck me when I saw the original layouts of these things is that the GUI is virtually identical to the standard UI for Pages, Numbers, etc.
Yeah. It's a mashup of Keynote and Pages.
So instantly I was sitting thinking, well, hang on, why is there not something as an export function within Pages coming at the same time so I can take my smaller book and push it out? And then I'm sitting thinking what you've just said, Andy, immediately. Yeah, okay, because when you start getting up to 600 pages in Pages, it gets real slow. I mean, I've had a 100-page document in there, and it's awful. But then, as well as you're saying about the collaboration, if you go with something that's compatible with Pages, you've got iWork straight away there for collaboration, and it just feels like that they've cast Pages aside from all of this to go with something that actually looks very similar to it, but there's no crossover between the two.
I think they are trying to steer people though down this route, aren't they? That's why they've produced this bespoke application that does one thing, and hopefully will do it really well in the end. But that's the ebook, and they're not even calling it ebook writer; they're calling it a book writer. So they're getting away from the whole concept of ebooks. It's a book to Apple, as far as they're concerned. So this is a specialized application to do that. I'm sure this year we'll see, iWork come out with new versions of Pages and Numbers and everything else. But the initiative now is to get the books in the iBook store promoted and written. I mean, I'm amazed how much I've seen in my Twitter stream this morning of people who, have seen this and are really fired up about actually, right, now I'm going to do that book that I said I was going to do. And I take Andy's point that, it's not really meant for that at the moment, but it certainly has fired up people's imaginations. And I would imagine once it becomes a bit easier to do more traditional type books rather than just textbooks, we'll see an explosion in the number of books that people are actually producing.
Well, I mean, take that very principle that you're talking about there and shove it into the fact, or multiply it by the fact you've got nuanced dragon speak stuff now in the Mac App Store as well, and you're not just writing a book, you're dictating a book. So, speaking as a dyslexic, the thought of sitting down and writing a book scares the crap out of me. But sitting down and talking to a microphone, and I'd love to do a book on photography, absolutely. But now that's really touchable for me, definitely.
So I assume that Apple aren't going to put any restrictions on the type of content and put any explicit tags on their books.
Don't know.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
That's the whole area.
Trust you, Gaz, to think of the explicit stuff.
Well, a lot of people are upset that you can only either give the book away or sell it to the iBook store. You can't sell it in any other way. So again, they are steering people down a particular channel to produce the content and deliver it down a particular channel, which has caused a lot of upset in the ebook community.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of always the way, though, isn't it? Because whenever you get anything that comes out from any organisation, you always get the group of people who sit and look at it, and I'm as bad as anyone else for this, and think, oh, I wonder if it could do this. And I mean, I used to have some one-to-ones at Apple when I bought a MacBook a few years back, and I'd always gotten okay with Pages and that kind of stuff. But I'd sit there and I'd sit with Kate, who was me one-to-one tutor, and I'd say, but I want it to do this, and then she'd sit and screw around for an hour trying to get this thing to do it, and at the end go, no, it won't do that. But I was the one that was always trying to break it and get it to frig around and do things that it's not supposed to do.
Well, one of the things that is really confounding is that Apple has sort of added these extensions onto EPUB, its own kind of extensions on EPUB 2. Now, they're based on HTML5 and JavaScript, so it's not like the extensions they've added are, use some weird special Objective-C code or anything like that. So, it's pretty simple, the add-ons, and it's compatible with EPUB 2. But a lot of those things that they've added on were actually added into the EPUB 3 standard, which was released a few months ago. And our sources were telling us Apple is going to use EPUB 3 to make this a really a simplified format and easy to use, but they've actually gone with the EPUB 2 plus their extensions. I was
going to say I'd take them out the back and shoot them then.
Yeah, and there's some of those extra interactive things obviously won't work with EPUB 2, but if you have a basic book with just text and some pictures, that can be that could very well be exported to a standard EPUB file, which could be put on different bookstores, could be easily converted into .mobi file. Amazon's upload tool will convert an EPUB automatically into Mobi files. And a lot of people are frustrated that it doesn't just stick to the standard and follow the standard on that. And there's also the end user license restriction that says if you sell the book, you can only sell it through iBooks. And a lot of people are actually kind of angry about that, and I think it's a dumb limitation on Apple's part. I see that they're giving away the software, and they're like, well, if you're going to sell books with this stuff, then we should get some money back on it in the bookstore. I get that, but if their goal is to actually, one would think that their goal would be to energize the ebook publishing industry as a whole. They could do that with this.
That doesn't make them money, though, does it?
But it does. It does, because if tons of people are publishing ebooks, you know what I mean. In the end, it does, but not maybe in the way that they want to, and I get that. But
in a far more oblique fashion than if they make sure that things only work with iPads. The whole point of this app is, of course, to sell more iPads and down the line more iPhones, more iOS devices. But I think that Apple, at the very least, they put that real poison pill part of the EULA in boldface right at the top. It's not buried anywhere, but you do have to click that button, go into the About box, and read the EULA before you realize that if I want to produce a book as a commercial entity, not only am I locked to Apple's iTunes store as the only venue for this iBook, but also Apple has the ability to simply say, no, you know what? We think there have been enough books about the Civil War, so we're not going to let you sell it here. So that's a big problem. But on the other hand, it's a free app. It's interesting to kind of work through in your mind what's better, a free app that only works through with Apple devices, or if it were a pro app, let's say a $199 app, just like Final Cut 10, something like that, where it's out of the reach of pretty much everybody who could most benefit from it, and it could build ebooks that would perform to EPUB 2 and EPUB 3. And then the other thing is that it shows off the great benefit of Apple controlling the entire chain from start to finish. I can't imagine how difficult it would be for them to create a tool that they promise will create EPUB 2 and EPUB 3 compliant documents and still have that level of interactivity and all those flashy features on it. Given that they know exactly how every single target device that could ever play this book is going to react to this code, they can make sure that whatever you see on the screen is actually going to wind up being experienced on the screens of the people who are actually going to read this. So it's a complicated thing. I agree that if they don't do a 1.5 or 2.0 that says you can create optional builds that are EPUB 2 and EPUB 3 compliant, and just like when you import a Pages document that doesn't have the right fonts in it, it will warn you, okay, you realize though that this is going to be a very static document. You're not going to get that quiz thing. You're not going to get that Google Maps lookup that you've got in Chapter 3, but simply allows you to deploy it anyway. If they don't do that with a 1.5 or 2.0, that's either a demonstration that this product is not making nearly as much money as Apple hoped it would, or that Apple is really adamant about saying, we're not here to increase awareness and usage of electronic publishing. We're here to do products and services that enhance Apple Computer and our customers.
Is there a tagging process within the manufacture of the book that you've got, or as in like the inspector? Does it have because I haven't had a go with it yet at all, but because I was thinking if you wanted to manufacture for yourself a novel, a non-fiction, computing, politics, economics, those kind of categories, unless you categorize these books, you suddenly start throwing them into iTunes and then or into the bookstore, and then you're starting to add on, well, you give them the book under a category and then they tag that for you afterwards, because then that gives them the control of it. Is that the DRM of it? I mean, otherwise it's just going to be a complete and utter mess trying to find anything. It'll be like podcasting. You really just won't find anything, even if you're looking for it sometimes.
Well, you can. Go ahead. I was going to say you can insert keywords in the metadata for the document.
That's not going to do it, though, is it?
Also, it's a two-step process. If you from the app, you can burn individual files that you can then distribute by hand, albeit for free. If you want it to be included in the iBook store, it will produce a set of files that a second app will then process and basically turn into your official submissions package to the iTunes store. I haven't used that yet, but if it's like submissions for the App Store, I'm guessing that this is where you say, here's the categories targeted at, here's the release date I want for it, here's the price that I'm thinking about for it, and all that stuff that has nothing to do with the actual content itself.
That's an iTunes producer, I think.
Yeah. Andy, have you got, Dr. Happy Mac, have you got a book that you'd like to really write? One of your experiences,
weird, but,
maybe? Or
I've written quite a few books, actually.
Have you read Belle de Jour?
Sorry?
Have you read Belle de Jour?
Read Belle de Jour. I've got the movie. I had the personal dictation.
Dick being the obvious word, yes.
No, I've in my past life of many things, I've written quite a few books.
Really?
So, yeah. So
any that we can get in Amazon?
Sorry?
Any we can get in Amazon? You might get a royalty check for 12 pence at the end of the week or something.
I don't know if you could search for me as an author on Amazon. I think there's a few on there, and illustrated quite a few books as well. So,
what kind of illustrations, Andrew?
What?
What kind of illustrations, Andrew?
Very, very good ones.
Oh, I'm sure they were.
I'm sure they were good.
The detail was high.
Oh, yeah. Anatomically correct illustrations.
Were you under a nom de plume, or were they under your real name?
No. It was under my real name. There's nothing exciting. I mean, they were very young children's education books. 101 questions. What about this? Questions and answers about space, under the oceans, that sort of thing.
Ooh, I like space.
lots of other stuff like that, and lots of illustrations for publishers as well. So I've actually worked with quite a lot of publishers on children's books for quite a long time, and as a consequence, I've grown to loathe and detest them all. So it's I was looking over it and thinking, there's a couple of books that I had in my head that I wouldn't want sullied by publishers that could definitely go down that route, and it looks very, I was looking at it thinking, I'm quite excited.
You don't want to be constrained by the man.
Yeah, I've been constrained by the other Apple man. That's fine.
Would it be the Busy Books series, Andrew?
Might be.
The Busy Dinosaur series? The Busy Rescue Vehicle?
Yes, that's some of them. What, have you found them on Amazon?
Yeah, I found them on Amazon, mate. You can get Busy Books Dinosaurs in paperback, 22 new and used from 1 penny.
A penny?
Yeah, I think your royalty check may not be as big as you thought, mate. Fear not, though, because
gone for quantity.
Yeah, the Rescue Books one, or the Rescue Vehicles one, which has got a Dennis Fire engine on the front, that's available for a penny as well. But if you want it in hardback, it's going to cost you a tenner.
Tenner, that's what I want. Everyone go and buy the hardback merchant. Now.
You just need to change the marketing on it, saying books, illustrations of hot firefighters getting busy. Call your local book.
There we go. If you type
suitable for 3 and 4 year olds.
Then you'll see if you type Andrew Stevens into Amazon.
Yes, which is what I did.
It comes up another one, ABC Train.
The ABC Train. You were hitting the high intellectual notes, weren't you, mate? Here.
Yeah. I illustrated that one as well.
There's one here about imaginative theology. I'm taking it that's not yours.
No.
No. Okay.
No, but there's the ABC Train and the 1, 2, 3 Train. That's written and illustrated by me, so they're good ones.
Right. There you go. If you want to support our wonderful Dr. Happy Mac and try and get him maybe a penny royalty check by the end of next week, go and buy the ABC Train, the panoramic jigsaw book, and it's drawn by Dr. Happy Mac and written by him and illustrated, and it actually looks rather good, I have to say. Looks like a proper book. No one's bought anything off me, so I'm not in the position to throw stones here at all. And that one's going to cost you $5.35. So,
what, the 1, 2, 3 Train?
ABC Train is going to cost you £5.35, mate. That's the cheapest you can get for it used.
Yeah, well, that's because it's a collector's item. But as you can see, I mean, they were quite cut out and keepy, so I'm quite keen on the whole iBooks author thing.
If you want one without the pages stuck together, it'll cost you a tenner. It says temporarily out of stock at the moment, though. Are you waiting for another print run?
It's not what I... That's out of my control. It's published. That's why you hate publishers. You get a book in print and they bloody... before you know it, it's out of print again.
Dr. Sticky Pages. Sorry, fellas. Shall we go back to the news? Anything else from yesterday's keynote that was huzzah? Or was it all just...
Yeah. Well, it was the whole iTunes U side of things.
Yeah.
iTunes U, yeah. So talk us through iTunes U. Now, this is an educational podcast section, no?
Well... Originally, it basically put together recordings, either audio or video and audio recordings of lectures, so professors could keep track, and then students could sort of subscribe to them as a podcast. And if they missed a lecture, or if they were just one of those kids that don't like to go to class, whatever, they could keep up with what's going on in lecture.
This is a service for kids who didn't like to go to class, sponsored by universities. I really don't see that.
Well, perhaps it's Steve's idea of having a dropout lesson.
Of course, he dropped out. Yeah.
So, but they've actually made a new app for the iPad, and instead of just being limited to these recordings of lectures, though, iTunes U professors can put up, the syllabus. They can link to digital texts that are in the iBook store. If they have written their own text they want to give away for free, they can just include it. They can put course notes, all kinds of stuff that they can include. And basically, anyone can subscribe to a course and, some of these, I guess Stanford has some. You can just basically take like an iPhone development course just for free.
And we're saying anyone. It's genuinely anybody who's got an iTunes account can get hold of one of these things.
I think that there's a way for schools that they can create their own iTunes U section that's only accessible to students.
Yeah.
One of the big announcements, though, was that they've extended it now. It's not just universities; it's actually schools as well. So, and that's a new thing from yesterday. But the thing that struck me is it seems as though they've gone from taking just because all the courses that you can get on iTunes U are like a full range of lectures, lecture videos normally, or lecture audio notes. But now they've put everything in there. But they also, from what I've seen, there seems to be some sort of management component in there as well. So people can, it's a way of managing a class as well as just educating a class. So again, I think they're laying the foundations for future products and future platforms for schools to actually adopt. Not just to put it on the web for anyone to get access of, but actually to re-engineer it so that you could actually start to use it as a learning mechanism within your own school. And I thought there's lots of opportunities and lots of potential for that sort of management application of the whole sort of teaching and learning experience. That I think that's the way they're sort of looking at it.
Yeah, part of it is really cool. Part of it is kind of odd. Where if you don't know what were you supposed to read, there's a screenshot that shows this app where you just see this post from your teacher that says tonight you're supposed to read chapter 8. And then there's a link to the chapter in the ebook you're supposed to read. Also, watch this video lecture about photosynthesis, and then there's a link to the embedded video about the photosynthesis. Write 200 words about this, and all that's due by next Tuesday, which is really, really cool because my problem in school was we're supposed to read what, where now, and here it is. Look, dummy. Here, if you click this button here, you will go to the actual chapter you're supposed to read. Then click this button here to watch the video you're supposed to read. All right, dumbass. But it also it's such an iOS tuned app that you get to the problem of, okay, so we've addressed the 9 kids in this class who have iPhones. What about the 9 who have Android devices, and what about the 6 who still have just feature phones?
Well, if they were that clever, they wouldn't be at university.
Oh, on top of
they wouldn't have an iPhone. They'd have. There you go. See, that's the Steve's.
Dad, write me another check. I need an iPhone now. Yeah.
That's Steve's egalitarian view of the world. Is if you haven't got an iPhone, what the hell are you doing at university? See,
it is such a freaky division because I was when my nieces and nephews started thinking about colleges. I started telling them, remember, kids, like you guys are gonna be spending like $13,000, $14,000 in tuition like every year. Kite it up to $15,000 and get yourself a good laptop, or kite it up to you're gonna be in debt until you're 60 years old anyway. Be in debt until you're 60 years old plus 3 more months and have a good phone for that time. But it really points out the divide between revising education for public schoolers, people in high school and junior high, and revising it for people in college, where there is an expectation that they're going to have to pay through the nose. I don't have kids myself, but I'm friends with kids, and they keep me up to date on what those local initiatives are. One of these schools decided that as part of the curriculum, you will get every kid will be issued like a sort of a touchpad sort of thing, a Windows like a tablet computer. That would cost that they get to keep it, but they'd be spending about 50%, 60% of what like their usual rack cost this thing would be. Plus, on top of that, it's being sold through like an intermediary that would provide a service contract, so that if the kid drops and it breaks, he simply takes the pieces to this special office in the school, and they will simply give him a brand new machine, or excuse me, a replacement machine, and it makes it impossible to think about, well, how do you do this all or nothing sort of technology support for your kids? Is it okay to have these new technologies and these new bits of courseware if you can't be absolutely sure that every kid will have access to it absolutely every time they want to do it?
But that worries me, to be honest. The whole lock-in and the whole exclusivity and the inclusiveness of this whole ecosystem really worries me. And although it's great and I like it, and I like the tools and the technology, I'm just wondering if this might actually turn around and bite Apple because, of any potential backlash. Because
there's already backlash.
Yeah, it just that does worry me that there might be some negative sides to this as well as all the positive sides that we're seeing.
Well, I've just thought of something where you have a student that's at school and he spends the whole day actually working hard, making lots and lots and lots of notes on his iPad. Where's his backup?
iCloud.
It's in the cloud.
Yeah, so all of these schools, not only they've got to make sure that they've got lots of servers in place and that everybody's got easy and good access to the iCloud.
I would say most universities have got really good cloud access. I mean, certainly all the universities that I know of around Birmingham that I've had anything to do with over the years, they've got fantastic Wi-Fi systems that are in every single building. You pretty much get 5 bars on your little radar thing wherever you go. They're really, really good.
So iCloud really has got to work properly, because obviously if there's any issues there, then...
Yeah, I mean, the only problem I ever had at university was the fact that for some reason the DNS didn't like my Mac, so it wouldn't assign me a correct IP. It gave me a 169 IP, and eventually I got a new DNS server on there, and it worked just fine after that. But it wasn't the IT department that gave it me; it was another student. That's the sad part.
MacBits in the chat rooms made a very good point. He said, all of this fitting on a 16 gigabyte iPad?
Well, the maximum size of books is 2 gigabytes, isn't it? Except there's a few. Pearson's biology, which you're going to imagine is a pretty thick old book, is at 2.3. I think that's the biggest one. So,
speaking to the issue of the notes and backing up and everything, I do remember even just a year or two ago, because some students were getting Kindles and getting Kindle versions of their texts, so they could sort of do the same basic idea. And someone had made these extensive notes on, I want to say it was just like a Charles Dickens novel or something that for a literature course, but they'd made all these notes, and then Amazon updated the book, or there was some issue with like the copyright didn't expire in some country.
Oh, and the notes disappeared.
Yeah, so they basically they deleted the book from his Kindle automatically because the publisher complained, and then all his notes and everything went with it. Right in the middle of the semester.
He got it all back, though.
Yeah, but I mean, he didn't get his notes back.
Yeah, he did. He got the annotations back as well. Yeah, they sorted it out. They found it on the servers and the backup. Yeah, and they gave it in. Chat room's already way ahead of you guys. Wait for the jailbroken iPads to come, and it'll complete the course for you with autofill. Yeah, you can probably print your own graduation certificate. And Tone's suggesting that you could even go to the graduation using a webcam instead. There we go.
Oh yeah,
perfect. Now, Don, you're an educator, mate. Does that mean you're going to start off Toxteth University in Liverpool and start selling your screencasts through iTunes? You, all the free ones, at least, anyway.
You never know. You never know. Actually, I did pull a screencast into the app yesterday to see what it would look like, and unfortunately, it wasn't in the right format. So I'm going to have to reformat all my videos before I could do that. Again, it's showing you how Apple are so consistent. What you had to do for the video, although it will work on an iPad and it also will work on a phone. It wouldn't work in the iBook, but you have to re-encode it using iTunes and get the exact preset that they deem to be okay. But and again, I can only think they do that to make sure that it's going to work on every single iPad and that it's to their standards. But I mean, I'd always toyed with the idea of delivering content using an ebook, but before now it was just horrendous to actually do it, and you did need to have some background encoding, etc. So you never know. I might branch out and do a few little experimental things in ebook format.
Now, Andy, you got me thinking, mate, because no one's talked yet about what you do when you take your iTunes U thing, or you take your new ebook that's got the stuff linked to it, so you can see where you're supposed to go in the book and get your notes and that kind of thing. What do you do when you link it with Siri? Because that means you could tumble back from the frat house, bombed out your brain, lie on the bed. Siri's going to tell you that your teacher sent you a message saying you got to read chapter 8. You get Siri to read chapter 8 for you, yeah, and then you can speak the notes because you got Dragon Dictate or something on there as well as. Life's a breeze now.
Yeah.
No. You don't think? Whoa, dude!
Bless you. A neurological response with your in-depth questioning there. Yeah, well, it seems like it used to take like 25 years for like one generation of people to become completely divorced from like the ways that a previous generation goes through school. Now it's like 5 years. And something like that's like so weird that, is it possible to actually pass an entire course without actually putting your hands on a keyboard or on a pen? There are certain state schools here in the United States where you can actually do that, as long as the check clears. But yeah, I mean, why not do your entire course just by speaking your dictation and having things read to you? I mean, if you put it this way, let's say that your parents were like JP Moneybags, and they could hire like a servant to like live in your dorm, follow you everywhere, and say, "Yes, sir, the Krebs cycle is known as the," and you just just recline, have a little chaise lounge, have another service to just gently drop grapes into your mouth whenever you beckon. You would do that, wouldn't you? And if you can do this with a $500 device instead of somebody who would probably charge more than, I'm guessing, 10, 20 an hour. No. That's certainly a win.
You're not thinking it, dude. You're not thinking straight at all. This. I mean, MacBits has got me. He's on me vibe in the chat room here. He's saying, Siri, do my maths homework for me.
Okay, well.
So you've got to write a paper on E = MC squared, and you go, Siri, go to Wolfram Alpha. E = MC squared. Siri, select all. Copy.
Yes.
Siri, switch documents. Paste. Done.
You realize that there was that movie in the 80s where like some guy's personal computer like gets jealous of the guy's girlfriend and starts to steal the girlfriend away. That was a movie, That was just like fiction that was written. If any service, Siri or any other service got so sophisticated that you can say, Siri, do my homework for me, I would not want to go to the school where teachers are dumb enough to actually accept that kind of work. I mean, I'm thinking back about what a book that I read as a little kid that was about try to teach you a little bit something about the technology. Where these two like science whiz kids decide they're going to cheat on their homework. They're going to build a robot that'll do their homework for them. And by the end of the story, they actually get this going, but it's like a lot more trouble than they thought it was going to be. And then they, of course, being a book for children, they have to like have their comeuppance and like learn a valuable lesson. So they admit to the teacher, "Oh well, I'm sorry, we cheated on our homework and we built this robot to do it for us." And the teacher said, "Well, now you know what my job is like. You learned far, far more mathematics trying to teach it to a robot than you did if you simply had done your homework." Instead of saying, "Holy crap, here's $10,000 worth of venture capital. I want 40% of this invention, this robot that has arms and legs that can do actual math homework." So I'm not sure that the target audience for a feature like that would be Siri. When was the War of 1812 started?
Now, do you remember? Because I mean, what you're talking about there about computers doing your homework for you and all that kind of. Do you remember Weird Science?
Uh-huh.
Damn, what a movie that was!
And you're referring to the technology, of course, and the theological implications of creating life.
No, I'm thinking about Kelly LeBrock.
I was going to.
You lost me with the theology, dude.
I was like giving you a lifeline, saying I'll let you like sort of pull yourself up and say, no, actually, I was not just simply thinking about that wonderful set of powder blue panties and the bra. No,
they weren't blue; they were red.
See, found you.
No, here's the thing. You see, now Kelly LeBrock was in that film, and she was very good. I thought she was a fine actress. But she looks stunning. There we go. That's Kelly LeBrock. But there you go. That's the Weird Science. That's the only thing I can tie in with what Andy's just said, because as soon as he said a film about a computer that generates and thinks for you, and Kelly LeBrock. Same for you, Cole. Yeah.
See, and as soon as you're referring to like red underpants, all I'm thinking about is Fast Time at Ridgemont High.
I just hope she wasn't wearing underpants.
Holy hell! I've just done an image search for Kelly LeBrock to get a picture of her, and I've just finally looked at some of the other pictures. Someone's done something bad to this girl. Oh dear, Kelly. I'm sorry, mate. Oh, don't do a Google search on Kelly LeBrock unless you've got a time reference on it, or put Weird Science in quotes afterwards. There we go. This podcast and many others would not be possible without the fabulous UK2.net. They do domain hosting. They do e-commerce solutions. They do co-hosting. They do co-location services even. They do VPS. They do dedicated servers. They do everything to do with anything you could possibly want for the web. And they keep us afloat by the fact that they give us unlimited bandwidth, which we eat up rapidly. We had a good old month last month, and we topped off with more bandwidth than we've ever had before. And the little thing on the side just said, no, it's okay, it's fine, carry on, no worries. The amount of bandwidth we're using, if we had to pay for it, we'd have to advertise for a start, but we'd also probably not be able to afford it. So without UK2, this whole network would sink. Missy Moak would disappear. The news show would disappear.
Oh, no.
Missy's got everyone's hearts. I think she's had several marriage proposals from some of the people that listen to Bagel Tech. And her show will be up later again today or tomorrow. But none of these shows would exist without UK2. So please support them. Go to our website, bageltechnews.com. Use the click-through. They'll know that we sent you. And don't forget the offer codes, 15% off anything you basket for Bagel Tech, and absolutely zero charges for DNS management if you use Bagel DNS, and you can use both codes. So please support them. Right then, fellas, go on.
I'm looking at this picture, and I'm thinking about, really, when you think about it, she doesn't look half bad for her age.
I don't know, mate. The one that I'm looking at looks like she's been hit by a car and held up one end.
Another interesting fact I found in this Google hole, that she used to be married to Steven Seagal.
Yeah, she was. She was at the time that they did that. She was married to Steven Seagal.
Yeah,
I remember that. I mean, I remember being gutted at the fact that I found out that she was married, because at the time that Weird Science came out, I was one horny teenager.
right.
I'd got girls. I'd worked out girls. No, I hadn't. No, I still haven't worked out girls. That's rubbish. But I'd kind of worked out that they were that they weren't just things that you try and avoid at break time. Right, Don, have you got a pick for a save us quick?
Oh, picks, right? Okay. Well, yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, this one, because I haven't actually got it, but I'm going to get one. I use a Wacom pen tablet. I've been using an Intuos 4 for ages now. Before that, I used a Wacom. I think they call it the Fun. I think it's called the Fun tablet, which is like it's a pen tablet, but it's also got touch features enabled as well.
Right.
Well, I've just discovered that they've brought out a new version of the Fun, and the touch gestures are now compatible with Lion. So I can have the best of both worlds. I can use it as a whacking big trackpad if I want and use the Lion gestures, and I can also use it as a pen tablet as well. So it's. I actually downloaded the drivers for the current tablet I've got. I've actually got the older version of the Wacom Fun tablet, and it doesn't work, unfortunately. It doesn't support the multi-touch gestures. So after Macworld, I'm going to get one of the new touch pads from Wacom, and I'm going to give that a try. But I think it should be good.
I've got to say, I've persisted. I've got 3 Wacom tablets, or 3 types of tablets kicking around in this office, and I cannot get on with any of them. I always play with them for a couple of months and then that's it, throw them to one side.
Oh,
I just wish they'd chosen a different name.
Wacom. Especially after the Kelly LeBrock thing.
Do you pronounce them differently in the States?
Yeah.
To be honest, I've never heard anyone actually say the name.
Too embarrassed.
I wondered what the giggles were in the background. I was trying to work it out.
Oh,
maybe that's right. Maybe it's wrong. I don't know.
Don said poo.
I thought Wacom in my head.
Yeah.
But I like your name better.
Okay.
Wacom. It's a good game as well at service stations.
Playing with this Wacom all day.
Just touching my Wacom.
Oh, easy, Gaz. Just you again.
You're multi-touching your Wacom.
Multi-touching. Yes.
The 5-finger Wacom.
Support multi-touching.
Moving on really rapidly. Andy, what have you got for us, mate?
This is a really cool service that just came out, or released for iPad a minute ago, last week, I think. I don't know if you can see the screen. Can you see the screen behind me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So this is a system called OnLive Desktop. Oh, why did you log me out, you stupid? I'm going to recommend it, but I'm going to.
Yeah, it's all right. You'll hate it next week, just like Greenie does.
Exactly. No, I just like, why do you? Oh, well, the reason why it logged me out is that OnLive Desktop is a way of running steady on Windows 7 on your iPad. It is essentially, imagine a VNC client where the Windows, where the desktop is not a box you have to maintain in your office and maintain a connection to. It's actually a virtual machine that's being hosted by onlive.com. And so essentially, when you just install this iOS app, it's a really nicely done little client. And what you get is the entire Microsoft Office suite and pretty much any other Windows 7 app that you want to run. So it's a really interesting way of being able to get access to good desktop apps off of your iPad without having to maintain your own VNC service or maintain a machine that stays up 24/7. It works pretty much as it's sort of like running a netbook in terms of speed. There's a latency problem, so if you type at 110 words per second, it's not going to be able to keep up with you. But it works with a Bluetooth keyboard, so you can actually get some real work done. More to the point, I use my iPad a lot for regular writing, for example. And when I'm working on like a tech book, there comes that point where I can't use Pages anymore. I can't use a text editor anymore. It has to all be done in Microsoft Word, because at this point in the game, editors have like notes and there's the change logs and all these sort of things, and a tracking has to be done on each file. And that's the point in which I stop going to the Wi-Fi cafe with my iPad, and I have to start taking my MacBook with me all the time. With a tool like this, though, I can keep the files in the cloud, access them, and operate them via Windows 7 here, and have the full bore version of Microsoft Office operating on it. It's
or not,
free.
based on what's showing on your screen behind you.
I have bad Wi-Fi access here. Believe it or not, like here on the porch is the one place where like Wi-Fi doesn't really reach. I've got Ethernet cable on my Magic Skype machine, but it does show you certainly one of the problems of it. It's dependent upon your connection to the internet. It also kind of explains why they have different tiers of service available. And why they're sort of throttling. They're sort of slowly letting people get accounts on OnLive.com. The free account will give you, I think, 2 gigabytes worth of cloud storage and just normal access. If you get OnLive Desktop Pro for $10 a month, that's not available yet, but that they're going to be rolling it out soon. You get priority access to the server, so they're not, no matter how busy it gets, hopefully. Good. You have fewer chances of being shut up by guys like me who just want to demonstrate this thing on a podcast. Also, you get 50 gigabytes of cloud storage, so you can move your files in and out of that way. But it is really nice. I mean, I think a lot of us here have we keep a Mac running 24/7 just for a server, just because it happens to be in the office. So it's easy to do back to my Mac or something and just VNC back to it. If you don't have that sort of luxury, it's really cool that you can still have access to desktop class apps on your iPad without having to, crack $1,000 for MacBook Air.
Very good. Very good.
So go to onlive.com and sign up. I'm not sure if it's like any other like limited rollout where if you get it on the right day, maybe you'll get an account. If not, you'll be put on the waiting list and maybe you'll have to wait another week or two, but it's definitely worth trying out. When I'm in a place where you can actually get Wi-Fi, believe it or not, it actually works much, much better than this.
That's okay, mate. It's performance problems, isn't it? So that's the trouble.
It's because I've got maybe
it's the software version of erectile dysfunction.
Oh,
this is the blue version of the show, isn't it? A priest, a nun, and a performing flea went into a bar. Now the nun says...
Good. Excellent pick. Chris, what have you got for us, mate?
Have we talked about Snapseed on the show?
Nope.
Because I saw this at CES. I got to meet one of the developers, but it was really, really cool. It's a photo editor, but it has this completely touch interface. I mean, you can just do all this stuff with it, and it works really well. And it's
Can
really
I just
impressive.
say at this point, I'm no clearer about what it does.
It's as I said, it's a photo editor.
Thank you, mate.
Photo editing app.
Okay.
For iPad. But I, as you well know, I'm a fan of things like Instagram and things like that. So just one touch, bam, bam, bam. But if you use it enough, you can get bored with its selection. And there all these apps like this. I just wish there was easy ways that you could tweak the look. And Snapseed can do this. I mean, you can tweak contrast, brightness, saturation. You can use just by touching the background and using one of the tools, you can actually select just the background and only edit it. And I mean, there's sort of similar to Apple's Instant Alpha they have in iPhoto. So it has sort of a feature like that where you can select backgrounds, or you can select certain colors and things and just tweak those individual things. And it's just so well thought out with the interface.
Good.
It's far and away not the only photo editor app on iOS. There's plenty of them out there, but I've just personally been frustrated with using the ones that are out there. Like the interface is just awkward. It's hard to see what you're doing. But the Snapseed one, I was just completely blown away by. So I've been downloading it. I downloaded it the other day and started playing around with it and learning it more. But like I said, the developer gave a demonstration I saw at CES, and it was just, my mind was blown.
And I would have shown a picture of it, but for the fact that bloody Time Machine is running and Chrome has still got a blue spinning circle around it, and I hate it.
I use it myself. I like it too for exactly the reasons that you're talking about. It's more like, if you can imagine being over the shoulder of someone who knows Photoshop and telling him what to do, that's what the app does. It's not, okay, I'm going to create a knockout mask so that I can make the background less contrasty and make the foreground pop. No, what you do is you say, I want the guy in the foreground to look a little bit sharper, and pull him out from the background a little bit. Can you do that? And there's a big tab that you sort of push, and it will actually do that for you. And how much do you want? You want more than this or less than this? Less than this? Good. Okay, done. And the other, actually, they had a big announcement just last week. It's always been an iOS app, but now it's actually also available for macOS, so you can get it on the desktop as well.
Thank you. Gaz, what have you got for us?
An oldie, but a goodie, actually. Photomagico.
Yeah, good one.
As I mentioned, I've just put a link quickly in the chat room. I mentioned before the show that it's my daughter's 18th this weekend. So, as you can imagine, we've been putting together some photographs, and I've had a copy of Photomagico for some time. I think it's now on version 3, and there are two versions: a professional version and a basic home user version. And I've loved using the home user version, which I think is about $30, and it's basically can create slideshows for you. You can add music, but you can also put videos in there as well, and you can get precise transitions, and I've just enjoyed using it. It's got a nice flow, a nice workflow. Obviously, it links up to your iPhoto or Aperture libraries. You can pull photos in, videos in. You can add a few annotations on the home user version. I think the Pro version's got obviously a lot more authoring and editing possibilities. But I just love the ease of use, and so far it's done a good job. You've got lots of different export options on it as well, and it's a great little app. It's from Boinks, who do produce really good applications. I did do a quick look to see if Don had done a screencast on it, but I'm not sure whether you have, Don.
I haven't actually. No, I've not covered that. I need to, really, yeah.
It's because they didn't pay him. Photomagico, you watch out for Boinks, because once in a while you'll find that they'll just, all of a sudden, everything will be $5.99. And I learnt the hard way by buying their stop motion home edition at $39.99 probably about 9 months ago, and literally the week after it went down to $5.99. But I did notice that Photomagico was down at $5.99 as well, so I got it then as well. So it was the old version, but they're really good at that kind of stuff. And Boinks does tend to do good software. The only thing I would say is watch out for your GPU load, because if it's graphics intensive, it does sap your GPU load terribly. Particularly things like the home display transmission thing that's like Wirecast. Boinks TV, that's a hog.
Fair point.
Dr. Happy Mac, got anything?
I do. Obviously, I had to search quite long and hard to beat Stitch Work Weekly from the other week.
That was a good pick. I went there myself afterwards, and it took me an hour to get off that site.
It's good, isn't it? So, yeah, I mean, obviously, we're all making patchwork penguins at the moment. So, but I did find I've got two picks to spread my load. First off is a little pick, back on the App Store. It's not, to be honest, it's not the best app in the world because it's a bit buggy and things, but it is all about the content, and you can download the Bugle podcast app to your iPad and iPhone.
Andy's a Bugle lover.
Oh, the Bugle. So nearly not with us any longer, but apparently thanks to new sponsors, back again. And I must admit, if I don't get my Bugle every week, I'm a bit of sort of a bear with a sore head, because it is fantastically funny.
That's the ultimate success of a podcast, when you forget about how much you like the podcast, that you're grateful to these people. Like if they miss 1 week, you're suddenly like, oh, damn it. Why is this? It's Friday. There's supposed to be a podcast.
I miss a week. All I get is a torrent of abuse.
It does say Apple have kindly put on the app here, rated 12 plus for frequent intense profanity. And I will go with that. There is.
Yeah, and you were having to go at me for double entendre.
This is quadruple septuplet entendre going on here.
Yeah, I tend to listen to them before, travelling to a rugby game, so it gets me in the mood.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great.
Anything that allows you not to miss your bugle fix is a big plus.
Super.
And on the other side of it is one that I've been pushing down my girls, because I'd rather that they didn't do Facebook all day, every day, which is a kind of mindless thing like that. So we've been trying to switch them on to Minecraft. There's a little app there that allows them to actually build and make things. I'm quite keen on that. It seems a sort of a socially improving and morally advantageous kind of game.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Minecraft's making them into better human beings.
Better than Facebook.
Okay.
Better than hands-on parenting.
Yes, because talking to real people makes you into a real antisocial git.
There speaks the truth in the background there. And anybody that can build an entire full 1-to-1 scale Enterprise D in Minecraft, that's an app. That's the app for me.
So your daughter built...
No. Some guy built the Enterprise D in Minecraft.
Full size?
Full size, yes.
Wow. Is there really a set of blueprints that tells you where everything is? Because, I mean, in the Star Trek, they only showed you half a dozen levels.
It's Star Trek. There's blueprints that show you who made the toilets, what screws to use to unscrew the drain grates. It's Star Trek.
And people no doubt argue over whether they're accurate or not when the thing never existed anyway. Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry if I've blown the myth for anyone there.
No!
Come on! The Bugle app is more morally, I can't think of the word, enhancing than mine.
Reprehensible, I thought you were going to add in there.
They're both good fun.
I've got two kind of real quick picks. The first one is if you go to scan.co.uk at the moment, the Plex store, it's gone see-through again. Damn. The Plex store Blu-ray drive, here you go. It's Mac compatible. It's plug and play with your Mac. You shove it in and away you go. That is now $64.95 at scan.co.uk. And it's fully compatible as well with Handbrake and also VLC, which will help you back up your Blu-rays. There we go. And the other one is one that's not an application that I've ever had a go with, but Carl has come up today because he's coming to the rugby tomorrow and he's going to drink beer with me this afternoon and have curry. But he sent me a little thing that said, I'm going to send you a glimpse and you'll know where I am. I've never used Glimpse before. I didn't even know what it was. And I clicked on the little link and it showed me a picture of him, told me what speed he was doing and how far away he was. And I kept refreshing it and it kept getting closer and closer and closer until he arrived. And effectively, I answered the door before he rang the bell. And it's fantastic. It's like Follow My Friends, except it works. Because Follow My Friends is crap. Bloody awful. Follow My Friends, even. So there you go. That's my pick. $64.95 for the Plex Store thing. And how much is Glyph? Free. It's free. Oh, even better. I feel like Carl Swagger now. Cheapskate. We'll be back again next week with another Mac show as normal, and we've got a daily show as well. Daily show is going to go to Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday because unfortunately I've managed to drop a contract. That means I'm working Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday every single week now for the next 14 weeks. So I'll have to try and fit it in. Awfully sorry. But we will be back with the photo show next week and the Mac show. Everyone should be here because no one will be working and everyone will be well and good. And then Big Show will be back on Thursday night. Last run around the table. Where can we get a hold of you? Don, you've blacked out, but he's back.
I'm back again. I don't know what's happening with this connection.
Well, you went all stretchy, elongated, and then back again, and you came all pixelated. You look like you were in Minecraft, actually.
Oh, nothing to do with me. This flipping Virgin Media again. But never mind. Anyway,
I beg you too. Sorry.
Pardon?
Am I going to have to find that and bleep it?
What did I say? I said it's Virgin Media.
Oh, I thought you added. No, I thought you added an adjective.
No, I was going to say Telewest because it used to be Telewest. I went Tele.
Of course.
Virgin Media.
Right, jolly good.
All right.
Where can we get you?
Gone again. No, I'm back again. Right, find me at screencastonline.com. I've got my new iOS and Mac video tutorials now going swimmingly. The new website's up and running and everything's hunky-dory. You can also find me, or you can find my apps over on the App Store. Just search for SEO Tutor, and you'll find me on Twitter as Don McAllister.
Thank you, Andy. I'm glad to see that your number of followers has gone up since you've been on this show, and your career's improving. So just keep going, mate. Where can we get you?
If you can spell my last name, go to Ihnatko.com. That's my newly revamped blog. Now I've updated it from 2002 style CSS to 2007 style CSS. So I'm really very happy that it only took me 2 years to actually do that. On Twitter, I'm Ihnatko. If you can't spell my last name, just go to cwob.com for the celestial waste of bandwidth, and that'll take you to all that cool stuff, plus my Chicago Sun-Times column.
Dude, if they can't spell your last name, they shouldn't be following you. That's the way you got to see it.
No, I'm willing to grovel for more followers.
You're famous enough. You've been around the block enough times. They should know you by now.
I did note that I have 3 times more followers than the Bugle podcast.
Good.
Which is more of a criminal shame about the ineffectiveness of Twitter to match a awesome podcast.
If I can spell your last name, everyone can.
I should be angry. You're right.
Chris, where can we get you, mate?
If you must, you can find my brilliant writing on arstechnica.com, or you can find my horrible writing, my obscenity-laden rants on Twitter at Foresman.
Ably illustrated by Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Full on. Rated 17. Gaz, where can we get you, mate?
Well, I've come to you today again through Virgin Media, but half the speed of Don, so I think it's because we were on Telecentral, Don. That's the difference. But you can find me at gazmaz.com, nice and easy. All the links are there. Excellent.
And finally, Dr. Happy Mac.
Well, you could do the Twitter thing or the internet Google search thing and things, but this week you can, in fact, I would like it. You can all find me on amazon.co.uk and buy.
Yeah, you can get the ABC. Now, actually, if you do a Google search, you can get the ABC train for under 5 pence.
Just put your hands in your pockets, guys. I mean, the check only comes quarterly.
Yeah, don't be fooled. The hardback version is only cardboard. It's not like it's plastic or metal or anything. It's not. This isn't Madonna's sex book here, is it? I mean, it's animals on a train.
Do you remember that? There's a blast from the past.
I've got it upstairs in the loft. I wasn't going to open it, but then I was 23. Of course, I'm going to open it.
Yeah, but you need to buy 2, one to keep and one to open.
Oh, yeah, I was 40 quid a pop or something like that.
Yeah, publishers, buggers.
Yes. By Andrew. And those are your illustrations on the front of the ABC train, are they, Andrew?
They are, yes.
Very good, mate. You're a talented bloke. Are you still drawing my gay bunny?
Yes.
Thanks, mate. If you don't know what that is, you should have been listening. Listen back to a few episodes of Bagel Tech News and you'll find out what the gay bunny's all about. Promise you. We'll be back next week. Have a great week. Bandwidth and hosting for Bagel Tech Mac is provided by UK2.net. Web hosting for everyone.